leader worth following or to become a good leader. There is a true crisis in leadership today in all spheres of the life, whether it is professional or personal or political. So the question arises, why is this crisis existing and what can we do about it? So today we'll talk about why this crisis exists because being a good leader is really hard. Being a leader worth following is really hard because it's not being good at one thing or two things or three things. It's difficult because it is important for us to be good at multiple things. Good leadership is multidimensional, as I have shared in one of my earlier videos as well. Being a good leader means that we need to make tough decisions, even when we don't have all the information we need to make them, which means that there will be times when we will end up making the wrong decisions. And we just need to live with it. And it is not easy take the accountability for making a wrong decision as we go along because it comes to our identity as leaders who tend to or who are expected to have all the answers. Being a good leader means that we consistently work to improve our self-awareness. It's one of the most difficult things to do, just to be constantly and consistently working towards becoming better aware of our own emotions, our own feelings, our own thinking, our own motivations, our underlying beliefs and assumptions that we make. That's the most difficult work that any of us can do. And it is a mandatory requirement if you want to become a good leader. Being a good leader also means that we are responsible for the well being of not just ourselves, but of all those who are in our charge, which makes it that much more important and difficult because any decisions that we make is not just affecting us, but it is affecting everybody whom we lead. So any wrong decision could have a negative impact on everybody. Any good decision can have a significantly good impact on everybody as well. So which means that we need to constantly hone our ability to make decisions with incomplete information. Being a good leader means that we show tough love when someone needs it. And this is something that not a lot of us are comfortable with. It is very difficult to get to someone who has been performing well, who has been delivering good work, but of late has not been able to perform as well as we expect him or her to. How do you deal with that situation? These difficult conversations will need to be had. These difficult conversations will need to be had earlier than later. So, the ability to show tough love on someone's actions rather than on someone's identity is super important and very, very difficult to do. Being a good leader means that we become good, active listeners. Again, another thing that a lot of people struggle with, me included. Uh, in order for someone to become good listeners, we need to be able to suspend judgment. We need to be able to suspend what we want from the conversation or what we want to achieve from the conversation and give our full attention, be curious about what the other person is talking about or what they are sharing. And this ability to put ourselves aside, take our ego out of the equation is not easy at all. And this is necessary but not sufficient condition of someone becoming a good leader. Being a good leader means that we get good at identifying potential and not just identifying potential in people, but helping them translate that potential into performance, or in other words, um, in realizing the potential. Now, one of the things that I learned from my mentor, Boris Munshi, is that there are no top talents. All of us are talented. All of us have the ability to perform really, really high in psychological tasks. I mean, of course, physical tasks, if it is sport, swimming, or if it is a sport like tennis or football that requires very specialized skills. So forget about that. But when it comes to business world, each one of us has the ability to become top performer. Boris shares in his podcast that he did with me. I'll put the links to the show on the description. He talks about the fact that process beats talent every single time, which means that if we can create systems, if we can create processes, if we can create a culture which encourages people to realize their potential, you will suddenly find that we are able to significantly increase the performance of not only these individuals, but also jointly together as a team, where one plus one, where one and one doesn't necessarily become two or one, it can become 11. And that responsibility of identifying, nurturing, and realizing potential amongst people is the leaders. Being a good leader means that we are the custodian of the culture of the organization that we lead. Every organization, every time there are two or more people who come together, there is a culture. There are norms, there are power structures, there are expectations in terms of how you show up, how you interact. That culture is existing. Now, good leaders understand the culture. Great leaders can actually shape the culture. Now, the question is then, how do you shape the culture? Number one, all you need to do is to show up as you would expect the people to show up. You need to recognize the actions that you expect them to take. You need to um, model the behavior that you expect from the team. You need to be able to promote and fire people based on those values that you expect them to show. Right. So all of that kind of put together creates culture. There's a whole lot that goes into it, but for our conversation today, I think this is what I mean by uh, you know creating good culture and becoming the custodians of the culture. So which means that we are the single person responsible. The buck stops with us when it comes to the kind of culture that we have built or allowed to thrive within the organization or within the team. Being a good leader means that we need to learn how to stay humble, get hungry, not just for ourselves, but for the team that we lead. There are times when I have seen leaders who have reached a certain level and they're happy at where they are without realizing that if they don't continue to grow, if they are not hungry, what they're doing is they are ensuring that the people that they're leading, number one, um, they will end up having a set of people who are not hungry as well. Number two, anyone who is hungry and ambitious and who's wanting to go beyond the call of duty will typically find ways and reasons to move out of the team. And that never augurs well for the team. You need all kinds of personalities within your team. We need someone who can provide the team stability. You need someone who can provide the team with firepower, which can actually help your team progress and uh, uh, do really big things. And you also need people who are the glue, who are able to kind of mix and match the people who provide stability with the people who provide the firepower. And if you don't have any of those three things in mixture in your team, then the team tends to stagnate. And nobody wants to be part of a stagnant team, especially if the leader is comfortable where you are, you have achieved whatever you want to achieve, you're no longer ambitious. And you're setting the limit for people who follow you. or whom you lead. So it is important that, not only are we hungry and ambitious, not just for ourselves, but for our team, but we also need to be able to stay humble, which means that, um, you need to be able to um, realize that the respect and the influence that you have as a leader is not owned or not given to you as a individual, but because of your position. And even if it is given to you as an individual, if even if people want to um, give you influence over them and their activity out of reverence and respect, do not take it for granted. So it's important that you stay humble, right? Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is being a good leader means that we are not only trustworthy, but we are also trusting. I strongly believe that at the beginning of any relationship, in order for you to become trustworthy, you need to become trusting, which means that you offer trust first and give them the benefit of the doubt first. And when they in turn trust you, make sure that you never break the trust, which means that you become trustworthy. But becoming trusting comes first. So you always need to trust your team from that point of view. Being a good leader means that we need to learn how to handle conflict. Um, any place where there are more than two people coming together, there is bound to be conflict. Can we create an environment and a process and a system where any and all conflict is about ideas and not about identities? So you need to allow ideas to clash so that the best ideas percolate up and you can implement them, you can adopt them without allowing the identity of the people with those ideas to get offended and conflict at that level. So, not easy at all, super difficult. And it's a skill that we need to learn. It brings with it certain number of tools that we need to be able to learn how to use. For example, facilitation. So, all leaders need to be great facilitators. So, being a good leader means that we continuously strive to align our team goals with the goals of the individuals we lead. Each one of the people that we lead have their own individual goals that they are going after. Do we even know them? Do we even understand them? Are we able to align what somebody wants to achieve in their personal, professional life with the organizational goals? The moment we are able to create that alignment, magic seems to happen. And so, which means that even before the alignment can happen, we first need to know what these goals are for our people that we want to lead. Being a good leader means that we are responsible for hiring the right people for the team and then taking responsibility for wrong hires as and when they happen and correct them as soon as possible. So I talk about the fact that as leaders, we need to be constantly looking to hire. Always be hiring is a mantra that I have. Always be looking for people, talent who could potentially fit in your organization. As I said earlier as well, so you need three different kinds of people, right, in your teams. You need people who provide stability, you need people who provide firepower, and you need people who can actually bring these two set of people together, which is the collaborators and the connectors. At any point in time, you need to know where it is that you're lacking in these three kinds of people in your team. What are the skill sets that you need on your team that you're currently lacking? And always be looking for people who can bring that skill set into your team. Always be hiring. People say be slow to hire and quick to fire. I think it is important that we hire quickly as well and fire quickly as well, because the pace at which the world is moving and everything in the business is moving, we no longer have the luxury to hire slow. So hiring, firing, and nurturing people who are they are in the organization is all our responsibility. Being a good leader means that we bring the right amount and the kind of energy to any given situation. So this is an important aspect as well. As a leader, uh, we need to be able to model the right kind of energy. Sometimes it is enthusiasm, sometimes it is happiness, sometimes it is a little bit of stress, sometimes it is a little bit of melancholy, depending upon the situation. To lead means to lead not just people, but also the underlying emotions. So we go first. That's what leadership means, right? So which means that we acknowledge if there is something going wrong first. We acknowledge something that is going right first. We acknowledge that we need to improve where we need to improve first. We acknowledge where we are really good at and want to leverage it more first. So that's super important. And we do that by bringing energy to any conversation, right? You don't want a leader who is going after big goals to be depressed and to be sad, to be frustrated all the time, right? We don't want leaders who are constantly complaining all the time. You bring the right energy. You complain when you need to complain, when it is intentional and is serving a specific purpose that you're trying to drive, not all the time. Being a good leader means that we learn to allow our people to make their own mistakes and learn from them when necessary. The smart way to learn is to learn from other people's mistakes. But there are a lot of times when um, either we don't have the luxury because you are breaking grounds, or the learning, in order for it to be internalized, needs to be felt, which means that the mistakes that need to be made, which means that the pain that comes from those mistakes needs to be felt for that learning to take root in our consciousness. It is our responsibility as leaders, or as wanting to be good leaders, or wanting to become leaders worth following, to identify situations where we let people to learn from our experience, to learn from everybody else's experience, and when to let them to make their own mistakes and face failure and learn from them. It is important that we ensure that they learn from them. So which means that all of that becomes intentional. Being a good leader means that we understand that mistakes are bound to happen when we push boundaries. And also to know, to not repeat the same mistakes, which tells us that we didn't learn from them. So this is something that my first boss told told me all very, very early in my career. And if you're not making enough mistakes, you're not pushing boundaries. And if you're making the same mistake again and again, you're not learning from them. So keep pushing boundaries, which means that you will fail, you will make mistakes. But at the same time, don't make the same mistake twice. Learn from it and ensure that you don't make the same mistake again. Being a good leader means that we ensure that we all learn from each other's successes and failures or mistakes. Like I said, being a good leader requires us to be fair and equitable to everyone in the team and in all situations. The choice of word is very, very deliberate, equitable. So, which means that you don't just talk about DEI, but you live it. Which means that you provide opportunities where opportunities are lacking. You provide support where support is lacking. You provide recognition where recognition is lacking. You provide whatever is needed for that particular person or for that particular group of people to thrive in your organization. So that is what I mean when I say fair and equitable to everybody. Do not leave out anybody. One of the things that I have seen people do is they're overly focused on gender diversity. Some of them are uh, focused on age diversity. Some of them are focused on um, cultural diversity to the exclusion of everything else. That's not right. That's not the way to be fair and equitable to everybody involved. We need to make sure that we are able to support every person in our team the way they need support from us. That's fair and equitable. Being a good leader means that we are humble enough to be open for feedback and suggestions so that we can get better as a leader. Uh, Very self explanatory, but very, very difficult to put it into practice, especially when someone wants to give you critical feedback. As you grow in your leadership ladder or in your career, the higher you go in terms of the leadership journey, the more important it becomes to identify and respect people who are willing to provide critical feedback. Not a lot of people will do that. So we need to treasure them, we need to respect them, and we need to seek them out so that we can continue to learn and grow and become a better leader. So, being a good leader means that we need to learn to look past someone or someone's situation's current reality to see the future potential. We spoke about potential earlier as well. Sometimes, uh, while someone might have potential, but their current reality might be very difficult or very, they might be in a place where they themselves do not believe that they have the potential. So, it is our responsibility, if we are a good leader, we would actually identify that potential and look past their current scenario. Being a good leader means that we set and expect high standards of performance and behavior within the team. As someone very wise once said, um, we get the performance that we expect and tolerate. So, good performance that we expect, bad performance that we tolerate is all we get. And it is that performance kind of usually degrades to the level at which we are willing to tolerate it. So set high standards in terms of performance, uh, mirror and be we need to perform at the same levels. We need to lead by example and consistently expect people to level up rather than level down. Being a good leader means that we constantly strive to build our influence within and outside the team. We don't operate in a silo. We operate in an organizational environment. We operate in a market. We operate in whatever level of leadership you are at. You operate in a system. Understanding how the system works is super important. Building influence among people that are part of those systems is important because ultimately you will have to interact with people. Your teams will have to interact with people. Having strong relationships across, above, below, sideways is super important. Remember, it is not just important for us to be able to deliver our performance better, but it is also important that we are able to model this behavior for our team and for our people to learn and behave the same way when they go out and become leaders. Because one of the most fundamental responsibilities of any leader worth following is to help others that they lead become leaders worth following. Being a good leader means that we are always looking for ways to remove roadblocks, internal or external, for our teams. This is again something which I'm very, very passionate about and believe very strongly. Leaders who pass on stress, pressure to their teams are doing a disservice. If we are the leader, then we need to learn how to absorb pressure. We need to learn how to absorb stress without passing it on as it is to our team. The worst managers are those who amplify this pressure that they are being put under. We need to ensure that, we are constantly looking at our people and asking them, how can we help them? What is blocking their performance? What are some of the things that, when removed or when added, can significantly improve their performance? And consistently do it. Bring resources to the table, bring attention to the table, bring intention to the table, bring action to the table, right? Being a good leader means that acknowledging and behaving in congruence to the rule that all success belongs to the team and all failures to the leader. Buck stops here. Enough said. Being a good leader means that we are always training, mentoring, and developing better leaders within our teams who can go out and spread the goodness of a good leader. Again, one of the most fundamental attributes of good leaders is that people whom they lead go on to become good leaders or great leaders. These are the seeds that they sow, which then can turn into fruit bearing trees. That's very, very, very rare and a lot more needed today in the world that we are living in. Being a good leader requires us to be able to take on multiple roles. Sometimes we are an anthropologist, sometimes we are a designer, sometimes we are a teacher, sometimes student, sometimes a scientist, sometimes a mm, futurist, sometimes an antagonist, sometimes a cheerleader, sometimes a coach, sometimes a mentor, student, sense maker, communicator, storyteller, inspirational, wise elder, thought leader, protector, connector, facilitator, problem solver, psychologist, um, uh, innovator, and many, many more, depending upon the situation. So we need to learn the tools of the trades for each one of these and how should we show up as each one of these roles in a given situation. And the most important thing is to develop the self-awareness to know, given a particular situation, what is the mindset that we need to bring to the table? What is the role that we need to play? What are the skill sets that we need to bring to play? And what are the tools that are relevant for this particular situation to play out? The social, the self, the social, and the cultural awareness to know all of these things. And as you can see, the list goes on and on and on. And when I say that good leadership is multidimensional, it's not joke. And to be able to do all of this intentionally in any given day is what makes being a leader worth following super difficult. I'm on this quest to become a leader worth following. And if you want to become a leader worth following as well, follow along. Um, on the chat, on the description, there is a link to a WhatsApp group that I'm putting together for people who want to go on this journey along with me, just so that we can exchange notes in a more private setting. We can ask questions, we can answer and help each other out. So if you are in the journey to becoming a leader worth following, do join the WhatsApp group that I have as well. Like, subscribe, and follow along. So until tomorrow, this is Mukesh signing off. Take care.